I don't know when I have to go to a grandparent. Actually, it's because a relative came by, and I have to. Oh, bitch. I am. I'm very sorry. It's just my computer does this all the time. My laptop does it. Is like some new information. Record mine is an HP laptop. I don't know if you can see some of it. No, you can't. You get to see me in my PJs. But we got here the third of the kill counts for Fear Street, and it's part 3, 1666. My opinion, probably the best one, because, you know, you've already seen it, so I'll just, long story short, I really enjoy these Fear Street movies. I think they got better with each film. I liked the style that they were going with, that the kind of revert, a sequel that takes place in the past is almost a rarity. And, some of the stuff they add in, like the Easter eggs kind of connecting all the dots to it, and how it all comes full circle. And also I love how like I mentioned, each film is their own distinctive little film. For like 1994, it's kind of like that. What Scream was like the revitalization of the slasher genre. 1978 was like Part Two. 1978 was kind of like a reference to the original Halloween coming out, and also in that way is like a tribute to John Carpenter films, like the early John Carpenter career, the one we all know and love, not the ones later that came out from Village of the Damned and you know not that. But point is, and then part three was interesting because it kind of took I mean a lot of the Nightingale, or the Witch, those kinds of movies that take that like those period horror films that you rarely see nowadays. And I don't want to press a button because if I press T, it's just gonna start the video. But actually, I love to press because I like it on theater mode. It just every time I turn off the laptop, it always goes back to this. Says, does anyone have that problem? I don't know why it does that. But from what I hear, Lee Janiak was actually trying to go for a bit of a Malik-esque vibe with the way it was shot. I don't know. All right, let's just watch this. Let's check out the kill count.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies.
Let's see if they have no, they don't have captions for that. Because if they do, it's just auto-generated. I hate auto-generated subs. Again, automatic. I hate automatic.
I'm James. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Fear Street Part 3, 1666, released on Netflix in 2021. Part 3 concludes the Fear Street trilogy with what ends up being two movies in one. The first goes back to the 17th century to show the founding of Shadyside and Sunnyvale and the truth about Sarah Fear. This historical time jump is something the Fear Street books did as well, when they visited the Puritan Age in the spin-off series The Fear Street Saga. The second half of Part 3 returns us to 1994 to tie everything together and finish off the big story. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again, it really sticks the landing. Everything comes full circle, and the revelations are hella satisfying. I think the Fear Street films got better as they went on, and the 16th
I'm in that one. I'm in that boat as well. Also, like James mentioned, they showed the Gillian Jacobs. If you've already seen part three, you know what happens. But yeah, just Gillian Jacobs or Jillian Jacobs. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Gillian or Jillian? I think it's because of the G. I pronounce it as Jillian. Oh man, I don't really see the alphabet is strange for me. It's been a while. I haven't I haven't gone to school in like I only graduated in 3 years ago, and thanks to the pandemic, I've forgotten almost everything. I actually might have to go to night schools, which would suck. But at the same time, I have to get my right because there's one scene where Gillian Jacobs is reacting to something, and she just. I think this might actually. I know people remember her as Britta from Community or Eve from Invincible. I think this might actually be her best performance. And the fact that these movies actually got a below 7 on IMDb is baffling in my opinion. It's just it comes to show you how many people are just yeah.
66 segment is my favorite of the series. By going back to the beginning, we learn things that reframe everything we've seen in the later eras. It shows that sometimes our history is based on lies, for history is written by the winners to make themselves look good. Best of all is the segment's payoff in terms of this trilogy's themes, like how being different can cause someone to be ostracized, and how those in power will sacrifice others if it means they get to stay in power. I also enjoy the depiction of youths having always been youths. They may wear cloaks and bonnets, and their drugs may be fermented fruit, but kids are always gonna find a way to have fun.
We drank Applejack. We danced. We are young. That is not a crime!
The problem comes from the way adults react to it. 1666 takes place in the settlement of Union, right before it split into Shadyside and Sunnyvale. We see the story of Sarah Fear, as played by Kiana Madeira, who of course plays Dina in Fear Street's 1994 storyline. To be clear though, the character we watch here is Sarah Fear. There's no actual time travel. Dina's just seeing Sarah's story through her own eyes, a result of having reunified her bones at the end of Part 2. Other actors from Part 2, and especially Part 1, are also here, all playing new characters who relate to their modern-day counterparts. Sometimes, as with Benjamin Flores Jr. playing Sarah Fear's brother, the character is an ancestor in spirit only. Other times, like with Emily Rudd and Sadie Sink playing Abigail and Constance Berman, the characters are literal biological ancestors, in this case of Cindy and Ziggy Berman. To help sell the setting, they speak in an accent that doesn't work all the time.
Shouldn't you be...
That is true. The accents, the one part I did not like about the 1666 segment was the accents. I don't know if they were trying to sound Irish, because okay, like it sounds like they're saying do your best Irish accent, and the accent is so obvious. And I don't know. I know it's because they were trying to connect the storylines, and it's because part one and part three were actually intended to be shot back to back, with part two, like James said, was going to be another director, not Lee Janiak. But Lee Janiak, of course, decided to do part two at the last minute. But yeah, it's just the accents are pretty bad. But aside from that, it just the accents are, I don't know. It's been a while since I've never seen some, I don't know if it counts, but like Pierce Brosnan speaks in a normal English accent when he plays James Bond. And when I saw him in The Foreigner, I think he spoke in his. I think I remember hearing, because Pierce Brosnan is from Ireland, so he has that natural Irish accent. I'm not Irish, I don't really have a good voice. I can't even do a good Scottish accent. The best I can do is the you can donkey, the Gordon Ramsay meme accents, or what are you doing in my swamp? I suck at accents. I ain't that good at them. So before you hear some bad accents, I can't even do good Kiwi, or because they sound this. I gotta hire to. I gotta learn how to speak in different accents.
Sleeping. Father wanted to prove.
But I honestly didn't mind. You get used to it after a while. Part 3 was filmed in the middle of Fear Street's 3.5-month production schedule, since it uses actors from both of the other installments. The actors from Part 1 filmed this after finishing their 1994 work, while the Part 2 cast filmed this before starting their 1978 stuff. Unlike Parts 1 and 2, 1666 doesn't really riff on a specific horror subgenre. Sure, it's similar to period horror, like The Witch or The Village, but co-writer and
Another one I forget is period horror. A movie that's good. It just needed to be edited better, because the twist. It's like you kind of got shown the twist very early on. So I'm not as angry with the twist. It's just maybe the edit. Yeah.
director Lee Janiak also drew inspiration from Terrence Malick's The New World, and the story is largely in the vein of The Crucible, which shows how women were subjugated as witches due to superstition and sexism. Will this blast from the past set a new Fear Street record for kills, or were things not as bloody in ye olden times? Only one way to find out. Let's get to the kills. The movie begins with another recap. Thanks for keeping us current, Fear Street. Or, I guess we're in the past now. That's cool too. 1666 to be exact, like the Devilman number. That's quite a time jump from the 20th century, and while this village probably isn't Robert Eggers accurate, it's close enough to buy into the setting. I think the handheld camera style they use for this installment helps, as does Marco Beltrami's colonial-sounding score. Part 3 tells a Sarah Fierce story using actors from parts 1 and 2, something anthology series like American Horror Story do, further blurring the classification of this trilogy.
Sorry, I have to pause the recording here. Sorry, my mom came in. It's because I actually, this is the only room of in the house that I'm currently in, where we just, it's a long story. And with long stories, let's go to a far more interesting one. Close the door here. For the record, I'm still in my pajamas. It's actually the
Trilogy. I still think miniseries is apt. Sarah and her friends are planning a party tonight and RSVP to each other using secret passphrases.
A full moon rises before nightfall. A good night to enjoy the fruits of the land. I'm coming too.
Yeah, Constance Berman didn't get the memo. Sarah's best friend, huge quotes on that word, is Hannah Miller, the daughter of Union's pastor Cyrus Miller. Does that name sound familiar? Maybe if you see it written down. Sarah and Hannah's relationship is the spine of 1660.
when I was watching it, I was just kind of watching it for the style, and I was like seeing how the story connected. And then when it reversed to 19, I was like, wait, Cyrus, oh right, Cyrus Miller was the first one. It shows you how much, if you look back at it, you can find something.
66, just like Dina and Sam's was in 1994. But in part 1, we saw them at their most toxic towards each other. Seeing them loving and flirty here makes for a much more enjoyable love story, even if it's one Hannah's mother is suspicious and disapproving of. Between their friendship, quotes again, and all that speaking in code, you can already tell how Dina's gonna go from average town youth to witch of the week. Doesn't help that the town drunk Tommy hangs on to her saying shit like this.
I see the darkness in you, girl.
Go wash your hair, Tommy, Billy Loomis-looking motherfucker. Lee Janiak was so impressed by actor McCabe Sly as he filmed his 1666 segment that she gave him a bigger part when they moved on to shoot 1978.
The Nightwing Killer used to be masked very early in 1978. And then McCabe was just so amazing that I was like, why are we putting a mask on you 20 pages in? Let's like watch you be Tommy. Let's watch you become this awful monster, and then we'll get to the mask at the end. And so that was really motivated by how amazing he was.
Good call. I think everyone enjoyed seeing bagless Tommy Slater as part 2's.
I mean, there's a thing about movies being filmed back to back. Like, I mean, there's obviously Lord of the Rings. I remember Infinity War and Endgame were also filmed back to back. But with this one, it's like both part 1 and 3 were filmed back to back, and part 2 was shot at the very end. Which is interesting, because from what I know, it was originally just gonna be Janiak was gonna do parts 1 and 3, and another director would do part 2. But I think the original director left at the last second, and Janiak was like, "Oh, I'll do it." And I actually think what you say is better, because I think you can kind of match it. Now I just lost I just forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, I think he kind of sells it even before he puts the mask on, which of course to make the iconic Nightwing Killer hood, potato bag, whatever. It was a potato bag, anyways. I think it kind of like you see the blood. It's pretty much intimidating because you see, that's the blood of everyone he's killed here.
Main villain. That night, Sarah conspires to go see the town's current witchy woman with Hannah and their friend Lizzie, the analog character to part 1's Kate. This woman, the widow Mary, lives in a shack in the woods, possibly in exile for falling in love with a native man. The Union youths occasionally visit her for ye olde medicine and ye olde drugs. Ye olde, She's also got a neat collection of witchy literature. Literature? But that doesn't mean you should read from it aloud, Sarah.
Unlock. Set.
Man, why these kids always reading spooky books? Things clearly evil. Look, that's some Antrim shit right there. The widow appears, played by Jordana Spyro, who played Part 2's Nurse Mary Lane. I forgot to mention it, but she also appeared in Part 1, showing us that Nurse Lane is still alive in 1994. The widow is analogous to Nurse Lane's role as a blade.
It was until I made the connection, I was like, yeah, the only one to actually have, like, any role in this trilogy, actually, like, in all three movies, as Kate and Simon, their actors are in part one and part three. Emily Rudd and Sadie Sink, part two and part three. It's very long. It's a long story.
Happy Doomsayer, and she tells Sarah Fear that the devil's gonna get her. Damn, lady, these kids just wanted some drugs. Looks like they were able to procure them anyway, and the youths take turns dosing themselves with berries around the.
I love the kind of out of focus. I'm wondering if they used a certain macro. I think this is macro lenses that they made a specialty macro lens because I do know Caleb Heyman. Yeah, of course, they shot this in anamorphic. So I'm wondering if they asked for Panavision to kind of develop a certain macro photography lens because there are macro anamorphic lenses. I know that. I wonder if they did use those because it looks like they're using macro. I know they're using some sort of close focus lens. It looks like a macro because of. Okay, I've shot with macro lenses before. Because everything. It's only like in the close up you can see. Like everything is like sort of edged off. There's no everything's all blurry, and when you put something close on, like say your pointer, your index finger, just you can see like some of the finer details with a macro lens. I'm wondering if they did use a macro lens. I'm sorry I had to pause the video. I just kind of like I think it's a pretty neat effect, kind of showing them getting high.
Fire. Whoa, man, you feeling this shit? It's like I'm in an industrial music video. I like that they get high off of actual blueberries here, since that was a nickname Kate used for the drug she was peddling in 1994.
Blueberries and bananas?
Vicodin and Percocet.
Sarah and Hannah start eyeing each other, but an oafish lad named Caleb is interested too. He's played by Jeremy Ford, who was Sam Sunnyvale boyfriend Peter. Sarah
I never noticed that. Oh man, this just shows you how good this trilogy is. If you connect the dots more. Man, I love these movies.
comes to Hannah's rescue with a
So he has a boner.
slap and a stock sound effect, and makes fun of Caleb's boner right in front of everyone else. Haha, look, he's got a boner. Drugged up and horny, Sarah and Hannah tee-hee into the woods and finally begin to act upon their long-suppressed latent feelings.
This is wrong. This doesn't feel wrong.
This is the first time these two have done something like this, and again, the beginning of this relationship is so much better to watch than the end.
Tell me to stop and I shall.
No, by all means, please proceed. Normalize all of this. Just keep in mind how dangerous it'd be if anyone else saw you. Ah, shit, someone saw you.
They'll hang us. Sarah.
Yep, that's how dangerous it is. So maybe don't tonsil box while that drunk douche Tommy's watching. The next morning, Hannah's got a problem. Her dad's a human fly farm who keeps muttering to himself at the altar. Ah, man, and is he hearing voices whisper his name? Yep, that can't be good. We all know what flies and whisper voices lead to in this series. Hannah's worried that their lesbian dalliance may have caused this sudden sickness, and in any case, her mom ain't happy about their so-called friendship. Not one bit. Damn, lady! Goody Miller tosses Sarah Fear out of her house into a crowd of Union citizens who have already heard about her and Hannah. Drunk Tommy's been spreading it around, and at this point, even Sarah's dad knows. He blames himself for not raising her properly after her mother died.
You were raised like a boy. I gave you too much freedom.
The whole Fear household is falling apart, in fact. There are bugs in their food, and their livestock's eating their own young.
Oh yeah, that is pretty gruesome. That's cannibalism. I'm sorry, I can't support cannibalism. Okay, this is probably alright, like, I know they're animals, but Jesus, those were your babies. You evil bastard, you evil pig bastard.
Is discovered by Sarah's little brother, Henry. Whatever's plaguing their home is also spreading to Union at large, as the town suffers from bad food and wild horses. And a poisoned water well, with Sarah's little dead dog, Maribel.
No! I drew, when I saw this, I was like, no! Because I guess it's because I'm too much. I have 3 dogs, so well, Cujo was probably the only bad dog we've ever heard of, but that was a movie. We don't know if that could be real life, but yeah. I hear my dogs, because if my dogs hear me, she just wants to really come. Well, let me see if she's at the window. Nope, she ain't. It's weird because she comes in every time when I'm just minding my own business, and she loves my attention. Princess, you've met her before. She accidentally came in when I was recording a video, so I just let her in. I had to boot her out immediately because my mom would kill me.
Bello, no! Drunk Tommy proselytizes that this is the devil's doing, and his words strike home with citizens such as Elijah Good, played by Matthew Zuck, who's Mayor Will Good in the 1994 storyline. If there's one
That was one thing I noticed, is until I wasn't really paying attention because I was thinking, because as we were seeing the story unfold, we realized, oh my God, Sarah Fear isn't the witch. This town has been fed a bunch of lies and stuff. But it was until it said Sheriff Good, like, wait, what? And then as they were running away, and she was explaining, because of course you have to explain what happens. It's exposition. So it's because when you're not really, until you're like, it makes more sense, especially in a certain scene coming in later.
One good boy around, you know he's got a brother. And Elijah Good's brother is Solomon Good, played by Ashley Zuckerman, who's Sheriff Nick Good in 1994. Sarah is one of the few people in town who looks after Solomon, who moved outside the settlement after his child and wife died. Though Sarah's dad wants her to marry Solomon, she thinks of him as a friend, a close friend she can confide in. She admits that she's afraid she did cause the town's new hardships because of her and Hannah's wicked sapphic love.
Maybe the devil.
Caused the town's new hardships because of
I like the cold look that these movies have, and like for this one, like kind of see like the backlight, also kind of harkening to like modern Spielberg at times. But yeah.
her and Hannah's wicked sapphic love.
Maybe the devil is in me.
Solomon sincerely consoles her, saying that even if she loves another woman, she's still a good person, so there's no way Satan's got a hold on her. You've got to invite that evil bastard in. Regardless of who's been causing it, the evil in Union continues to spread. Hannah's dad, Pastor Cyrus Miller, locks himself inside the church with a bunch of the town's kids. The door is busted open by Caleb and the Good brothers, Solomon and Elijah, not Gallows and Anderson, and inside, Solomon finds quite the ghastly sight. At the altar, Pastor Miller mumbling to himself, and on the floor, a pile of greasy, grimy eyeballs!
I can see everything.
Yeah, something tells me you can't, brah. And neither can the 12 dead kids slumped over in these pews, including Constance Berman, the 1666 version of Ziggy, and Sarah's brother, Henry Fear. A later shot of their bodies confirms the count of 12 and calls back to a similar shot at the end of the Camp Nightwing massacre. Pastor Cyrus Miller comes after Sarah Fear, but Solomon Good saves her by stabbing the pastor with a pitchfork. With that, the town's first horrific tragedy concludes, but we all know it would be far from the last. The town blames the possession on witchcraft and has a meeting about it. Women in the back. Elijah, politician that he is, takes the stand and says someone has to pay. After all, they're probably being punished because of sinners in their midst.
And I have a list of names!
Oh, never want to hear that sentence said that way. Solomon tries to bring peace, but Caleb testifies that Hannah totally witched him the night of the party, brah. She, used witchcraft to give him that embarrassing boner, and then she and Sarah Fear got down and dirty with the devil. A cry of witches goes up, and the men of Union testify up and down against them two lesbian witches. And look, there they are now, lesbian witching up that window. In the chase that follows, Hannah Miller falls and gets captured, but she tells Sarah Fear to go on and get. Hannah is abused and embarrassed, and ultimately sentenced to hang, while the mob has a door-kicking down search party looking for Sarah Fear. She manages to sneak around them and get into the church to talk to Hannah, where they realize there's nothing that they can do to make the town believe they're not witches.
Everyone believes we've done it. So what difference does it make if we do now?
Yeah, it's kind of like double jeopardy, so might as well make a real deal with the devil. No way that dude can be worse than the townspeople looking to hang them for their love. This is an awesome scene with a powerful performance by Kiana Madeira. We've seen that so far, Sarah Fear isn't the legendary witch she's been made out to be, but this may be the moment where that all changes.
They want a witch.
Yeah. Sarah goes back to the widow's shack, hoping that actual witchcraft might save Hannah. But the widow won't be able to help her with this plan, since Sarah finds her on the floor with her neck slit, long dead. Sarah flees to Solomon's cabin and begs him for help. She says the widow's dead, and since the widow's devil book was open, someone in Union must have already made a deal with the devil.
In exchange, perhaps for power?
Power, you say? Solomon says he believes her and hides her in his home when Caleb and the witch hunting party shows up. While hiding, Sarah finds an underground passageway that leads from Solomon's dwelling into a cave with a familiar symbol on the ground.
The witch's mark.
Oh shit, and there's the witch's book! And the witch's goat head? Aw, poor little bleedy guy. Yep, Solomon Good want pants too! Or power. Solomon Good want power. That's why he slit the widow's neck and made a deal with the devil. And why centuries later, Sunnyvale High would have the devil as its mascot. Now, you, viewer, may have guessed that Solomon Good was the bad guy by now, but Sarah fears so stunned she falls out of Dina mode for a mo.
It's you.
It was him! He's also the one who saw her and Hannah in the woods on his way to doing his devil thing. When he read from the widow's book, while wearing that stupid hood, it formed the witch's mark in the ground, created the tunnel system, and made the gross blobby heart of darkness that spits out copies of killers. Solomon's system and made the gross blobby heart of darkness that spits out copies of killers. Solomon says and made the gross blobby heart of darkness that spits out copies
If I'm being honest, I'm sorry. It's because I keep seeing flashes.
of killers. Solomon says that after losing his family, he felt entitled to a bit of happiness. So what if he has to sell a soul to make it happen? Not his soul though, someone else's.
Cyrus Miller.
As part of his deal with the devil, Solomon chooses someone to sacrifice. Their name gets written in the wall, they become possessed, and the Good family goes on to prosper. Bing bang bam.
One person every few years seems a small price to pay.
He tells Sarah she shouldn't worry about those idiot townspeople because she's better than them, just like he's better than them, and maybe they can be better than them together.
You're like me.
I am nothing like you.
Oh, so that's a no on the proposal? Well, it wasn't a real one, more like a trial balloon, you know? Sarah runs away from Solomon in his stinky caves and nearly trips over the pulsating blobby heart of darkness. Careful there, Sarah, that's probably like your only set of clothes. Solomon catches up to her and screams that he loves her, but sends a bit of a mixed message when he, holy shit, cuts off her friggin' hand! Just like Sarah Fear never actually made a deal with the devil, she also never cut off her own hand. It was always Solomon. Sarah fights to escape and kicks out the wooden floor above her in a manner very similar to Cindy Berman in the camp kitchen. She emerges above ground in the middle of the church, but she's unable to have a happy reunion with Hannah in the town square.
I found the witch!
Because that motherfucking Solomon Good sells her out, the spineless self-serving son of a bitch. The town marches Sarah and Hannah out to the hanging tree and demands that they confess their sins of witchery. With one last look at her love, Sarah bears the burden on her own.
I confess.
She says she made a deal with the devil and bewitched Hannah to be her lover. This is how the legend of Sarah Fear got started, and it's a complete tearjerker as we watch her take the blame and brunt to save the love of her life.
It was only me. It was always me.
Solomon orders Hannah let go and moves in to enact Sarah's punishment. Though she is no real witch, she curses him anyway.
The truth shall be your curse. It will follow you for eternity. I will shadow you forever.
With that, Sarah Fear is hanged by her neck. The music swells, and we see the real Sarah Fear, played by Elizabeth Scopel, as she recites her curse to Solomon Good, promising the truth will come out eventually. Once again, Fear Street moves me to frickin' tears. It's a truly emotional moment. Sarah Fear's friends were unable to save her life, but they at least want to give her a proper burial after death. They take her body from beneath the hanging tree and leave behind the engraved rock that would later be found by the Berman sisters in 1978. They move Sarah's body and bury it in a spot that would eventually be a ditch on the side of a road, and from that spot, red moss spreads, a symbol of Sarah's truth. Or something. Part of Sarah's pledge to Solomon was that she'd make sure the truth came out. That's why she appeared in visions to all the people who bled on her bones. Dina's the only one who got the whole story though, since she's the one who put Sarah Skelly back together. Now Dina knows that the Good family is evil, which is gonna be tough to deal with when the current Good is frickin' Sheriff. Title card! Part 2! Yes, for the final 45 minutes of this trilogy, we're back in 1994. But now we know the whole story and know that the Goods are bad, so Sheriff Nick Good is promoted to Chief antagonist instead of a mysterious figure on the edges of the story. As much as I love the 1666 segment, and as much as I didn't care for the first film, it's great to return to the movie's present to see the consequences of all the lurid history we've learned. Dina and Josh steal Sheriff Good's police car, haha, get wrecked, and Dina gives her brother a recap of everything she learned from her Bloodbone trip. Throughout their town's history, the good men have named sacrificial Shadysiders who become possessed and killed. The latest two being Ryan Torres and Sam, both named by an adult Nick Good. The blood of their victims fills the devil's tum-tum, and he rewards the Good family and their community with good times. We see another montage of Shadyside killers, but this time we see how each of them were named by various good boys, or good men, not dogs. You know what I mean. I love how most of the goods we see are played by Ashley Zuckerman. That dude knows all about Succession. Ted Sutherland still plays Nick Good from 78, who named Tommy Slater and got all those campers killed. What a dick. Speaking of the Shadyside killers, that blobby black brain is spitting out another round of them now. The so-called Heart of Darkness that sits below Shadyside Mall is the physical manifestation of the town's evil history. Inspired by the nasty organic elements of The Fly and the Alien series, production made a practical build of the heart to use on set. In post-production, though, this was one of the biggest jobs for the visual effects team headed by Paul Graff. Simulating liquid is never easy. I like how the killers are still mid-transformation as they spawn, and they don't finish completely forming until they're up and walking around. Dina and Josh get back to Ziggy Berman and tell her about Sheriff Good. Girl's shook when she finds out her camp crush is actually the cause of Shadyside's pain and suffering. The curse never came from Sarah Fear, it came from the Goods and their deal with the devil. To finally end the curse,
And the performance of like just her looking back on it, it completely sells it. God, I think this might be Gillian Jacobs' best performance as, of course, adult Ziggy. But yeah, damn it, stop getting me to tears, movie.
since they can't kill the devil.
We need to kill Nick Good.
Ah, good parody joke, Dina, if the NSA happens to be listening. Josh takes Dina and Ziggy to someone who might be able to help them. Martin the mall janitor, who we've seen harassed by Sheriff Good. He gave Josh his business card in Fear Street Part 1 after the kid helped him out in the police station. Their proposal is straight to the point.
Want to help us kill Sheriff Good?
Let me get my coat.
Again, parody! Any government listening? Martin doesn't think they're actually gonna kill the sheriff for realsies, and he doesn't know what they mean when they start talking about monsters.
What's really going on here?
It's weird to me that despite the confusion, he agreed to go to the mall and help them anyway, but I don't know, maybe he was just bored and going with the flow. Honestly, I'm just happy we're back at the Shadyside Mall. I love that Fear Street's grand finale happens in the same place the trilogy began. Malls are always great in horror movies, and this one's got fun colored lights thanks to that Spencer's Light store. Not Hot Topic-esque, I misspoke in the Part 1 kill count. Martin is shown the possessed Sam and is all like, oh no dog! He also finds proof that Sheriff Good has been framing him. In Part 1, we saw Good holding Martin in a jail cell on charges of spray painting the mall. Now Martin learns that the paint was planted, which, to be fair, Good already outright admitted.
These are actually my cans.
Good's been spray painting Sarah Fear graffiti all over town to keep the story of her curse alive, and ward off any suspicion towards his successful family's involvement. Man, that Good guy is one bad guy. They might need a cheat code if they want to beat him in the end.
Up, up. Down, down.
Or we can just talk about kick-ass YouTube channels. That's cool too, Josh. Dina gives an inspirational speech to her brother and these two adults she's only recently met. She says they're gonna avenge the countless Shadysiders who have been sacrificed and killed in the name of good. They kick things off with one of those stupid hand slices and The Offspring playing on the soundtrack. When it comes to the Shadyside monsters, they've gotta keep them separated. Their plan involves booby traps, super soakers, and Dina's blood mixed with glow-in-the-dark paint that makes it show up under blacklights. Before the monsters can show up, the Sunnyvale Police Force does. Officer Kopinski finds Martin and Ziggy, who react to a cop pointing a gun at them in very different ways, no doubt owing to historical encounters. Before he can decide what to do,
Also, they kind of, yeah, that idea of like, it's funny how like in the first half they try to restrain the light, and they, of course, when they go to the 90s, back to the 90s portion, they kind of give off this,
very different ways, no doubt, Martin and Ziggy, who react to a cop pointing a
and then you see of course, kind of, as a reference back to, like, the 90s, where every 90s movie was shot in anamorphic.
A gun at them in very different ways, no doubt owing to historical encounters. Before he can decide what to do, Kopinski gets stabbed in the back by Harry Rooker, the milkman killer. Another cop, Officer Kuzio, joins him on the kill count when the milkman stabs him in the stomach. I guess the milkman killed those cops because they were somehow in his way. It's the kind of flexible rule that got Peter and the hospital staff killed in part 1, and it allows our Shadyside heroes to avoid slaughtering as the killers follow Dina's blood trails single-mindedly. 4 of the monsters are lured into various stores in the mall and are trapped inside with security gates by Ziggy, Martin, and Josh. But none of these undead goons are the true big bad of the series. That distinction lies with Sheriff Nick Good, who meets Ziggy Berman face-to-face in the Shadyside Mall courtyard. Flashback memories are had aplenty, and Ziggy pushes past her summer camp romance to enact the revenge she always wanted to, a Carrie-style blood dump. That makes Nick a target for all the monsters now being freed, but the bastard grabs Ziggy and rubs all that monster juice on her, too. In the ensuing chaos, Sheriff Good gets away, and is followed by Dina as the others find safety behind the security gates. To deal with the monsters, they spray them down with the blood that drives them so crazy, setting off a
That was my favorite part of this. I don't know why. It was just like, I guess because they only fall and since they're stupid. It was I'm pretty sure it was supposed, but it was just funny seeing them all attack each other. It's like it reminds me of the Spider-Man meme where it's like, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. It reminded me so much. I can't. I just have so much fun watching this.
very violent, very kick-ass free-for-all where it's every mob for itself. They tear each other to pieces, but since they're already dead and reconstituting themselves as we speak, I'm not putting any of them on the kill count. Dina tracks Nick through mall locations built over historic spots in town, and because of her extended Sarah Fear flashback, she knows this grate leads to the tunnel system formed by Solomon Good's deal with the devil. It's the same spot Sarah Fear once kicked out of that led into the church, and then that much later, Cindy Berman kicked out of to wind up in the Nightwing mess hall. Underground, Dina calls out for Nick Good, and he yells back that his family deserves everything they have. Solomon earned it for them when he made this devil cave. While he goes on his entitlement rant, the previously tied-up possessed Sam somehow escapes. She runs through the mall and hops down into the tunnel where she catches up with Dina and starts fighting her. At the same time, Josh fights another Shadyside monster, Ruby Lane, but since both siblings recite the Konami code as a personal mantra, they're able to win their respective fights. Though, to be fair, Josh gets assistance from Ziggy Berman with a gun. Really glad Berman didn't Brita that up. Sheriff Good finds a weakened Dina by the goopy Heart of Darkness and beats her down while saying he's gonna frame her. Girl, he's gonna frame you so good. In an act of desperation, Dina presses Nick's hand to the organism, which gives him a mental montage of all of this trilogy. Dina presses Nick's hand to the organism, which gives him a mental montage.
Dolly zoom. There was a dolly zoom right over there, which I love the dolly zoom effect. Of course, that, from what I know, it's like the camera's pulling back, but it zooms in. It was the thing that you saw it in Vertigo, you saw it in Jaws. I love the dolly zoom effect. I'm surprised James didn't talk about that.
Of all of this trilogy's nasty kills. Once again, Sarah Fear's Cursing of Solomon plays in voiceover, as the Shadyside victims of all killers and eras pop up to torment Nick. The last is Sarah Fear, who stabs Nick Good in the eye and kills him. Oh, actually, Dina did it. She stabbed
This is the most satisfying death in my
the sheriff, but she didn't stab the deputy. The killing of Nick Good finally ends the Shadyside curse and gets rid of the monsters once and for all. It also breaks Sam free of her possession, so good job, Dina. You saved your girlfriend and killed the bad guy. That's pretty dope. They watch as the sacrificial Shadysider names are erased from the wall, and as the witch's mark unengraves itself from the cave floor. They find an exit leading to a fancy home that can only belong to Nick Good. Shitty guy, but I kinda dig his house. Maybe not the Ram decor, but I love a good family tree. Oh, I mean a well-made family tree, not like the good you know what I mean. Dina and Sam emerge on a rich-looking street smack dab in Sunnyvale, where they're greeted with neighborly scorn and suspicion. Joke's on that guy though, cause he's killed in a sudden car accident with a garbage truck. Tragedy has finally arrived in Sunnyvale. The truth comes out about Nick Good's bullshit, and a bunch of little character beats are given closure. I like the part where Ziggy reunites with her summer camp pal, Nurse Lane. As another Pixies track plays, Dina and Sam pay respects to Sarah Fear, the first Shadysider. Hey Sam, what if we kissed over that weird red moss and also Sarah Fear's grave? The movie ends with the camera taking a trip to the Shadyside Mall. It goes through the floor grate and the extensive tunnel.
And then post-credit scene, which, given that this was planned, but from what I've heard, Danny she won't direct them. Maybe she'll just be like the sole writer, executive producer. Oh, son of a bitch. Another loud car passing. This is why I cannot have good things, can I? No, I cannot. I don't know if you were able to hear anything, but yeah.
Tunnel system to find the witch's book sitting at the altar, at least until an unknown person grabs it. Let's finish learning all the facts to the story and get to the numbers. But first, the widow Mary hooked me up with some primo blueberries. Let's see what happens here. Oh, whoa, pretty good stuff. We had 19 kills in Fear Street Part 3, the most of the entire trilogy. There were 10 male victims and 9 female victims, the only Fear Street movie with more dead dudes than ladies. With a runtime of 114 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 6 minutes flat. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to Sarah Fear, not because it was gory or anything, but because it was so epic and poignant. This is the moment the whole trilogy hangs on, literally, and boy did they nail it. Great work. No machete for lamest kill will go to Officers Kapinski and Kuzio, who were simply stabbed to death by the milkman. And yet, Shiny Shady Cider will go to Harry Rooker, aka the milkman who killed housewives in 1950. Milkman got a solid push in Part 278, and I'm glad to see him prove he's a main eventer with 2 kills here. I'm not alone in loving him either. A lot of the cast cited him as the scariest killer on set.
You see it in real life, it'll change your whole life. You be in therapy with me.
And that's it. Fear Street Part 3, 1666, came out like its predecessors in July 2021 on Netflix. The trilogy was a resounding success, and while it takes a ton of people to pull off something like this, I've got to commend Lee Janiak in particular for masterminding and spending 2 years working on this project. Congratulations to her, and I'm glad she's already talking about doing more with the series.
We have ideas. We have.
Yeah, she said she wants to make it like the MCU of horror, and even though the ending was like, oh, great, now we're gonna deal with this. At the same time, like, I'd actually like to see more of these Fear Tree movies, because these were particular. I'll talk about it later.
Ideas.
Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
Hi, little meaties. It's me, James A. Janice.
For shit.
Oh, ignore the obvious difference. It's still the J-Man, okay?
This is cute. I like this.
Well, I've got another Friday the 13th recount for you, but this one is new. A new beginning.
Solid.
We finally get away from Crystal Lake to watch an older Tommy Jarvis freak out and kick ass. Around him are countless characters who are absolutely hilarious.
I got a bomb on me. I swear to you.
Intentionally and unintentionally.
You damn enchiladas!
And of course there's Jason, the real Jason. You know, just like me, the real James. Yes, I've got them all fooled.
What the hell's going on here?
This week, watch Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, a once maligned oddity that has seen reappraisal in recent years. And on Friday, tune in for the informational Kill Count Recount, only on Dead Meat.
It's showtime!
Friday the 13th, A New Beginning can currently be watched on the pictured streaming platforms. Dead Meat always recommends you watch the movie for yourself before its kill count. It's the only way to have your own properly informed opinion. Kill counts are never meant to replace the experience of watching a film.
Thanks a lot for watching this extra Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like Jess Harper, Maya Azar, Carl Lombardi, Kyra L. Irvin, The Real Bog, and Michael Hernandez. Obviously, this series gave me some copyright claim issues, but I just wanted to finish it and be done with it, and now I am. Hopefully there aren't any more issues. Going back to 1 kill count a week for a little bit, but in October I'm always gonna do more. So just look forward to that and be good people.
Por que procurar o seu intercâmbio assim?
Sorry.
Quando pode.
Different here. You know what? I'm just gonna pause the video. I'm sorry about. Hold on. Well, I wasn't hit with ads. for the first time watching these. I wasn't in with that. It's only at the end, and I was like, damn it. My VPN settings are very different, so I can get access to more content. So yeah, that was a good video. I would say part 3 is probably my favorite because that's where the story comes full circle. Also, James talked about the copyright. I remember that because when he announced he was finally doing it, he was almost done, and then it was just copyright after copyright after copyright. Like, come on, Netflix, let the man do his job. He's here to provide us good content. Sorry, yeah, it was unintentional, but yeah, sometimes but fair use does not exist for studios or YouTube. Like they think of fair use, they just think of fair use, F you. They think studios think we're saying F you to them. No, we're saying fair use. Fair use. I'm actually gonna write this on a piece of paper. Here, write it. With a pen. Ah. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm just trying to state something for YouTube and all these goddamn idiots out there. Let me just see if I can get it. I'm gonna switch to the webcam quickly. Here. What the stupid opposite camera. What does this say, YouTube? What does it say? Fair use. It says fair use, you sons of bitches. Fair. FAIR spacebar USE fair use. Underlined 4 times, 4 exclamation points. Let the man do his job. I love James's kill counts. He gives us so much good content, and I bet he's a nice guy. I never met him. I would like to meet him. You know, I bet he's just pretty nice in real. I don't know if I bet he's nice in real life. I don't know for sure, but oh Jesus Christ, some of the stuff here is just always This book keeps falling. This scenario just keeps falling apart to the point where it's like I can't do a damn thing about it. I have a chat at the ants. So I'm closing the door here. Oh, sorry, my legs were cramped. But yeah, I hope we actually get to see more Fear Street movies, because it's not always the end of the story, but, you know, of course, we all know we're gonna have to go through the same shit over and over again. Unless they, like, I would say they should continue it, but they should do it somewhere else that's not Shadyside or Sunnyvale. But if they do it, it'll be like someone probably, I'm wondering who it is, because we never really met the Mayor Good family. The Mayor Good family. I don't think we ever met the mayor's family. Because I'm wondering if that's someone of the good family, if they're like, we're not going to lose our success to some, to our neighbor town. So, because James mentioned that this movie kind of explores how we've been fed lies, how history is actually different than what we make it out to be. And it turns out what happened was actually different than what we are told, what we are fed to believe. And revealing that it's the lies of the powerful and the wealthy that define everything, that define the history. And so it's really sad because that is something because a hunger, a lust for power is very much, you know, it can consume a lot of people, and you kind of see it there. And also it's like, for example, I hate mentioning J. Edgar Hoover, But if I get caught by, if the FBI wants to kill me just because I offended J. Edgar Hoover, come at me. I don't care. If you shoot me twice in the head, God above will know it. I'll tell everything. I want the FBI to, yeah, because the FBI constantly did this type of, like, under J. Edgar Hoover, they did a lot of that. Like, they were ordering hits on Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton. They even humiliated Gene Seberg throughout just because Gene Seberg was affiliated with the Black Panther parties. And, and from what I know, J. Edgar Hoover actually did it because there were countless rumors that J. Edgar Hoover was homosexual, something that was commonly frowned upon, I think, back in the day. And, and I think also he attacked religious leaders, and, eventually J. Edgar Hoover committed suicide, which is probably the best thing. I don't know. If it were me, I would probably go back in history. It's like, say, if you go back in history, you kill, like, a powerful man like Hitler, for example. It's like Hitler, had a power because, he just hated. I don't know why he hated Jewish people. He just wanted. Because from what oh man, great. Now I think of killing, Holocaust. I remember one time I watched a movie for a school assignment. It was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. It was a good movie until the ending. After I saw the ending, I was like, what? No. No, because think that Hitler did that is sort of why, but back to the thing about power. With power comes a lust for more and more power just to keep the success. Because, of course, there have been lots of things where there's been lots of times where I think, success. I'm trying to think of it, but it's like the Hollywood system, kind of with the Me Too thing, is like, with Harvey Weinstein, because he had a god complex, so, and he's often had this reputation of being very difficult to work with, and at times to where he didn't want to give directors full creative control, because I think Billy Bob Thornton did one movie for Miramax and it was successful, and then they were doing All the Pretty Horses, and Miramax kind of stripped Billy Bob Thornton of any creative control over the final product, and what we got was eventually what we got. There have been some who wanted to see the original cut, but none of the original people involved with the movie want to come back to it, which sucks. It's like, don't you like? Here's the thing, you know, it's kind of like with the Zack Snyder thing. They used the death of Zack Snyder's daughter as an excuse to boot him off of Justice League, and they gave it to Joss Whedon, and we got the eventual mess. And Warner Brothers tried shutting down any rumors of a Snyder cut. I know, like, I delete any Restore the Snyderverse thing just because it's like I'll tweet I want to see the Snyderverse restored. I just don't think going on the internet and bitching and complaining about it is going to help. I think the thing is, you should start a Patreon account or Kickstarter. I don't care what people use these days to get money. You get money, you make a deal with AT&T and HBO Max, and you just go ahead and give Zack Snyder what he wants to do. But Zack Snyder has stated that he does not want to work with Warner Brothers or DC ever again after, how much they screwed him over. And the fact that people do not understand that is surprising. I know I'm gonna get dislikes just for saying that, but if Zack Snyder was like the man lost his daughter, he was then stripped of creative duties for his films. It turns out I don't think it was the first time it happened. It happened on Batman v Superman because Man of Steel he had full creative control, and DC or Jeff Johns were like, no, 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 you got to do this. But Christopher Nolan kind of would come in on said is like, "Hey, Jeff, come in here, come in here, come in here. Do your own movie, Snyder. Do your own film, Snyder." And that's why Man of Steel worked was because, okay, problems with the Jonathan Kent thing aside, I think Man of Steel is a near perfect movie. I really enjoy Man of Steel, despite I can see the flaws with the Jonathan Kent storyline because I know they were trying to not do the heart attack storyline again, but that is the one thing that Clark could not save Jonathan Kent from. Jonathan Kent got hit with a heart attack. Clark could not save him. And you put him in this easily savable situation with a tornado, which I thought was pretty stupid. Or it was David S. Goyerism. I think it suffered from. It's just people keep blaming Zack Snyder, but it's like, no, it's just bad David S. Goyer writing. Cause yeah, but I don't know. It's not really power. I know this is different, but it's like the fact that people try to cover it up with different things is proof of it. And Harvey Weinstein, like saying, you're only going to get famous if you do something for me. And, they tried covering it up, but over 40 women accused him, and now everything that he's done has been tainted. Same thing with Kevin Spacey, although Kevin Spacey wasn't hungry for power, you know. But it's like every film that Kevin Spacey has done now, like even American Beauty, which is one of my favorite films still, and the film that kind of just helps me look at life. It kind of woke me up to a different side of life. I see, you know, because the whole thing with like rose petals are a motif in the movie, and they show you, underneath the roots kind of stuff, underneath the roots, underneath that perfect, beautiful rose, there's some really rooty stuff there. There's some roots there that aren't as perfect. You see kind of the dark side of the dark side of American suburbia. You have the father who's homosexual, who's actually, you have the former army veteran father who's homophobic, but is actually secretly a closeted homosexual, because that was actually something I read about for American Beauty. Um, when they wrote American Beauty, there was actually a flashback scene signaling why Colonel Fitz doesn't like homosexuals. And it turns out he had a gay lover in Vietnam who died, and he saw it as, God kind of punishing him. And Alan Ball made the proper choice in removing that because, one, he was the only character to have a flashback. None of the others, not Lester, not Carolyn, not Jane, you know, but we see it more through visual storytelling. And the one scene where he goes, he's like, where's your wife? And when he ends up, giving Lester a little kiss, of course, we all know Kevin Spacey enjoyed that. Sorry, I couldn't resist myself from that. But, you kind of got the idea, and then you connect the dots. Colonel Fitz is actually gay, and he's actually been hiding it. He's been using his hatred to mask it away. Because, there's the scene where he's like, I will not sit back and watch my only son become a cocksucker. I can't even say that without getting canceled. And he's like saying these trigger words, just so Ricky can get away from his father. And you see hints of it. You see hints of why does Colonel Fitz hate it, and then you realize he's actually that. And Colonel Fitz is a pretty damaged character, and one of Chris Cooper's best performances. I think American Beauty is still an amazing film, even though the plot line is a little creepy. It's like, this is reality. People almost do this shit every day. There's got to be, the father who lusts over their teenage daughter's best friend. There's always going to be the wife, the couple, the wife is cheating on the husband with another guy, because of course she's always had a bit of a sexual attraction. Because in that scene, you see it when Carolyn meets Buddy at the, she isn't complete off him as like, you don't really, she doesn't say she's attracted, but you kind of see hints of it, like, when she's like, and when Buddy Kane is like, I'd love to have a meeting with you. And she's like, really? You kind of see Carolyn hints at, she uses her, say, real estate king, but it turns out she actually has a thing for him and is kind of attracted to him. And, when Buddy admits, oh, yeah, by the way, me and my wife are divorcing, I read a part of the script where she's like, she tries reading it, but she looks at Buddy Kane like a fervent Christian who has just come face to face with Jesus Christ. She looked at him like, I'm gonna hit, I'm gonna hit, I'm gonna, I'm getting freaky with that guy. And then, of course, they end up having sex. It went from talking about power to talking about different things, but, of course, men of power like Harvey Weinstein. Everyone does not want anything to do with Harvey Weinstein. Quentin Tarantino has since severed ties with him. And, now Sony is, it was Sony that did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was his most successful film, by the way. And, yeah. Yeah. It went from this long speech, full hour. But yeah, my mom is just calling me. I have to go fix something now, so I'm gonna end the video here. I left a like in it, so I will leave a link to both the original video and to the Dead Meat channel. Go check out James. He deserves all the love and support. And follow me on Instagram if you want. So, let me just end the video here. Goodbye, everybody.